And we are live.
Hey, everybody. This is the CrackBerry.com podcast for April 26, 2019.
Blaze, you took my hey, everybody, but that's okay. I love it. Hey,
I totally jacked it.
Everybody. No, seriously, hey, everybody. It has been way too long since we've done a CrackBerry podcast. I think the last one was our super duper year-end special. Well, I guess it would have been of late December 2018 or early January or something like that. But here we are. It's almost May. And I'd like to thank my dad, CrackBerry Kevin's dad, for this episode, because I went home for Easter last weekend and he was like, how come you guys haven't recorded a podcast in a while? He's very upset with me, very upset. He misses Blaze, he misses Adam, except Adam is in CrackBerry retirement. So we replaced him with James Nevis. Welcome to the show, James.
So glad to be back.
The voice you already heard, of course, is Blaze, the one and only, and editor of CrackBerry. And I am Kevin Mitchell at CrackBerry Kevin. Founded it too many years ago. Apparently, we had a birthday. Like, it's one of those things. Once you get to a certain age, you quit counting, right? And
yeah,
up to 10 was a big deal. But now I'm like, what? We're 12 years old. It's like, eh.
I think I've been 25 for like 10 years now. So
well, because I think when you get older, you just start to think about the past, right? You're like, oh, remember the good old days, and it's like, really, we should all be focused on the future, and maybe that's a very fitting name for this podcast. We should call it the BlackBerry Podcast of Future Past. Was that an X-Men movie?
Probably.
Days of Future Past.
Okay, we're close, but yeah, BlackBerry Podcast of Future Past. And we should talk about that because the name future is, or the word future is very relevant to us now. In the past a few months ago, end of February, Mobile Nations, the parent company of CrackBerry, which I co-founded, we actually got acquired by a company called Future Publishing out of the UK, which is super exciting and was something happening. And as one of the many hats I wear over the past several months. So, hey, how come you guys are all wearing hats and I'm not?
Yeah, you got to get your hat game.
Do you feel naked, Kevin?
Well, now I do. Luckily, let's see. I'm looking beside me here at different hats I could put on. I wear many hats, figuratively and
he also has many hats. Yes,
I also have. Yeah, exactly. I could start with the BlackBerry one. But I feel like, James, you're rocking the BlackBerry one, so I don't want to double up.
You got the word mark, though. I just got the bullet.
Do. Yeah. I could put on. Now, I should be wearing a Winnipeg Jets hat, except they are no longer in the playoffs.
Oh,
it's very disappointing. So if you're listening audio version right now, I'm trying on different hats. This is a nice Winnipeg Jets hat. I'm going to flip it up for another Winnipeg Jets hat. Look how cool this one is.
Super cool.
I like that one.
But since they are out, I've adopted the New York Islanders as the next team because one of the members of our Mobile Nations team, Chris Mink, he always wears Winnipeg Jets hats for us and as a supporter from a distance because the Islanders do nothing. But they're still in it, so I managed to buy myself an Islanders hat.
I guess that's acceptable.
But then really, though, I was like, this is a really nice hat. But then I found the CrackBerry Kevin of Islanders hats.
Oh,
look at this! I hope like YouTube picks this as the thumbnail, as for the cover art on this. It's like, yeah, it's a super bright orange hat for everybody who's watching. And then I of course always keep a Supreme hat nearby because it just goes. So now after seeing all those hats, James, Blaze, what should I wear?
Go with the Islanders orange.
Islanders orange all day, all
day.
The way. Okay.
Although the Supreme just matches your outfit so well.
Wow. Yeah. So then what do we do?
Just double stack it. Maybe don't do that.
I still have the tag on this one, though. That's funny.
That's going to be the thumbnail.
All
Kevin
right.
wearing two hats.
So we're 6 minutes into the podcast. We've talked about nothing BlackBerry related, but we should get into that. And it's nice to have James on the line. James works as part of the, you're a little bit on the inside of the BlackBerry story, working on our, on the marketing services team for Mobile Nations. So there's this nice church and state wall we have. So James probably knows secrets that Blaze and Kevin don't know, and then you're like, "Hey, James, tell us things." He's like, "Sorry," and then we hate him. But or did we?
BlackBerry Secure. Sorry.
But it's BlackBerry Secure, so Vault. But nice to have you here for the things you can talk about, because there are some cool things, and you probably know the BlackBerry game, more than CBK or Blaze at this point in time, which is cool. And obviously this is like a reunion for you guys, because for how long did the Berry Flow podcast evolve into the CrackBerry podcast and beyond?
That's 2 good years, 3 years ago. Yeah,
crazy.
It's been a while.
How many episodes did you record?
In total, I think we hit like 130, like in the 130s somewhere.
Yeah.
Every week. I mean, yeah, it was intense.
And then I came out of retirement, and they all went downhill, and everything got messed up.
Well, we adopted James. So.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. But
New fam.
Nice to have you on the show. Anything we want to talk about otherwise before we get into some BlackBerry news, or do we want to dive into any details, or do we want to on anything else, or should we go?
I just kind of like want to remark a little bit about like last year, our tours, right? We did so much traveling for BlackBerry and Key 2, and we did
totally right. So yeah, James and I became quite good friends. I think my wife was concerned for a little while that that something was going on. It's like, why are you talking about James so much? I'm like, we basically spend our lives together, traveling around Europe and doing CrackBerry meetups and everything. BlackBerry meetups. Yeah, crazy. I mean, I think 2017 still is like the craziest year of my life, probably. Happy to have survived it. Following the Key 1 launch. That was all nuts. 2018, less meetups, but quality though. We had some fun in London,
sure,
Paris, all those types of venues.
And some we didn't even get to, right? Like we helped host one in Vietnam as well.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah, CBK was there. Hey, where's my helmet? I thought that was getting shipped to me.
Oh my God.
No.
I have a helmet. Do you want to see it? I can unbox it over here.
Do you have a helmet?
I have a helmet.
Is it a CBK helmet or just a BlackBerry?
You'll see. 1 second.
Oh my God.
It's a BlackBerry one.
I got this.
Yeah, so I really wanted to go to, I guess it was in Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam. Yeah. Didn't make it to that event, but it was very much like a CrackBerry meetup from afar. And the turnout was like solid, and there was like a lot of cool young people there. Oh my God, look at that. That is amazing.
That's a unique item, man.
Hey, this is a exclusive.
What?
The CrackBerry branding and whatnot.
What?
It's atomic red, like the Key 2 LE, which is what they were launching at the time.
I can get that. I'm going to wear that on the podcast from now on.
It's like a legit helmet and all that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. This was a giveaway at that event we helped host. So it was a CrackBerry powered event for local fans there in the market.
I do have a propensity to break bones and things, especially when James Nevis is in the vicinity. So
only on my birthday.
Only on your birthday.
At least that would save your head.
That is true. Yeah. Damn, that's awesome. No, lots of fun times. 2019. 2018, obviously following Key 2 launch, lots happening. 2019 so far feels more of a, maintenance year almost, while they, keep selling the Key 2. I think that's probably the first exciting piece of news is there's a new color variant, and I've got one.
Yeah, that red edition announced at Mobile World Congress and shipping now. Very limited edition. They already sold out on Amazon, like a couple days. No more inventory.
If you do not have one, you're not getting one effectively.
Well, there's still Best Buy. Best Buy still has some inventory, but who knows how long that will actually last.
I really love my red Key 2. I made it my like future edition work phone, going with the theme of our new ownership. So it's got like the future logo, black red wallpaper. I went back to the first generation Spigen style ring on the back. A little bit different than the Louis Vuitton one on my silver edition. But I still love both. People keep asking me on Instagram, like, which color is the best? And I'm like, man, Key 2 was made for silver black. Like, it just looks so good. But obviously the red is hot and limited edition and has a little more RAM in it, I think.
No, it has the exact same RAM. It has more storage though.
Oh, storage. That's what I meant.
Yeah,
Or SIM cards. It's got something more. It's got more red.
128 gigabytes of storage. Yeah, it's definitely got more red.
It's got more red.
Guaranteed that. I always find it funny when people ask, like, oh, well, which one is better? It's like, buy all of them and change them with your outfit, just like you do with your hat. Like,
it's the classic.
I match that stuff to my pants and my shoes and my hats and whatever, right?
Totally. It's the classic thing, though. Like, is there anything different? Feels faster. It's the color red, makes it go quicker. We all know
feels smoother.
Yeah. Feels lighter in the hand. Totally. I like the red key too. James, you have one you've been rocking?
I do. Rocking red. It's really interesting, actually, kind of the design choices. A lot of people are like, why is there no red logo on the back? Like, that seems like an obvious thing. But, with the brand guidelines and things from BB Limited, it's got to be silver or black, period.
Oh, that's how that stuff works. Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, every brand I've ever worked with, right, always has their guidelines. And for everybody else, it's like, who cares? Just do what you want. But that makes sense that there'd be rules to stick to.
And it's like, this is loud, right? This is loud enough already.
Yeah. No, it's a classy layout. I mean, I think and also I think red black is kind of in more right now than just straight red, if you will. Like, there's something when you have something that's completely red, it feels very primary, right? It's like elementary school colors, like bright blue, bright yellow, bright red.
Yeah, and you're very, very committed to that color at that point.
Yeah, it's like a loud primary feeling. And then like the black red is there's something cool. Like, even if you look at cars right now where chrome is kind of going away and you're seeing a lot more people do chrome deletes with black. Like, when I see like a red car with a black chrome delete, if it's that right shade of red, it looks super good. I was looking, funny side story we can get into. My freaking, I think longtime listeners of the show know I've had a Tesla for a couple of years, but I haven't been driving it much the past few months because it's been constantly broken. Like, one thing breaks, gets fixed, another thing breaks, gets fixed, another thing breaks, gets fixed. But every time it breaks, you have to wait like 3 weeks or 4 weeks or something. So I've literally driven the car 1,000 miles in 6 months. It's pathetic. So I was like, maybe I'd replace it. What colors would I do? And I was like, do a Model X, black wheels, chrome delete, black. It would pair so nicely with this phone. It would just be like, it'd be the best accessory for the Red Key 2 ever. And it would go with our Futures colors, which are like Future, the company's colors, which are red and black. I was like, yes, Future Kevin is here. But I didn't buy the car. So, but I love the black-red combo, long story short, again. Black-red Key 2, or Red Key 2, it's selling, where else can you buy it? So we talked in the US, Best Buy still has some, Amazon seems to be sold out.
Yeah.
Europe has it.
Europe has it through the BlackBerry mobile store, which ships out to like 21 places across Europe. So,
well, and I do want to thank, on that note, the way my Red Key 2 came from the European store, which doesn't accept Canadian credit cards. So we actually had our good CrackBerry friend Rico do the legwork and picked up a couple for us and shipped them over, which is awesome. So if you're listening, Rico, this show was dedicated to my dad already, but if it wasn't, I would dedicate it to you. so I mean, or you guys can split it. But Rico, this show's for you.
We're gonna change Rico's name. He's no longer just Rico. He's Rico the Plug.
Rico, Red Rico for you.
Red Rico for you would be pretty good.
God, I love the alliteration there.
It's also available in China too, just so people know that.
Okay, sweet. But if you can get your hands on one, basically buy it, because it doesn't seem like there's a lot of them, and once they're gone, they're gone. But if you had to pick, I still love the silver black key too. I don't know. It's just,
they're all good.
It's pretty. Yeah, the black is great. Very Secret Service.
I still love my silver. I don't have a red one yet, so Rico didn't come through for me. He would have if I asked him to. However,
I feel like if you're listening, nobody give Blaze a red key just to drive him nuts for years to come, and just be like, I still don't have it.
It'll be the one that I didn't get, and I got to pick up somewheres on eBay like 10 years from now.
with Adam now in CrackBerry retirement, I feel like we have to pick on Blaze somehow, and Blaze is really hard to pick on because he's so cool. So at least if he doesn't have a red key too, I could be like, other news. What do we got? There's been a lot. I mean, it's been a long time since we've done a show, so there's got to be some things. Should we start with the biggest, most recent news, which is kind of a little depressing? But
it's a little depressing, but
maybe not. It's like an end of an era. It's not a bad thing.
It kind of really depends on how you actually look at it. To be honest, I mean, there's two ways that you can look at it. So,
well, what happened?
Well, MTech basically announced that they're.
Who's MTech?
MTech is the organization that took over or quote unquote licensed BBM from BlackBerry Limited. So they ran the consumer version of BBM, rather than having BlackBerry Limited run it directly.
Formerly known as BlackBerry Messenger, the instant messaging app that was huge before WhatsApp took over.
Exactly. So basically, they announced on May 31st that they're going to go ahead and just discontinue the services and discontinue the licensing and all of that, which basically means that the consumer version of BBM will no longer exist. And then BlackBerry decided that they couldn't basically just leave it at that because there's a lot of BBM users that are still out there that still want to continue using the service. And they couldn't just take the license back and then put out their own version of BBM Consumer again. So they decided that they're going to go ahead and offer BBM Enterprise as a solution to those who wish to continue using BBM. So basically, BlackBerry offers everybody who is on consumer BBM a free year of BBM Enterprise, and then after that, it runs like $5 per year or something.
And how was the backlash or news received, both within, let's say, the CrackBerry community, but then beyond that into more mainstream?
I mean, the way that it was received, I mean, the situation, how they rolled out the news wasn't exactly the best. The messaging that they put it out, because like one announcement came from MTech, and everybody who would be like tuned in to BBM and everything that's going on with BBM, they automatically just got the message that says, "Hey, we're shutting down," and then that's it, right?
Yeah, it was literally like a goodbye emoji.
Yeah, it was basically one of the sticker characters waving goodbye, and you had to click on the link to be able to go ahead and find more, which it really wasn't the best messaging, the best way to put out that messaging. But then BlackBerry quickly followed up and said, "Hey, here's what's happening. In light of the MTech decision, here's what we're going to do." So, I mean, the way that it rolled out, some people picked up on the stuff the right way, and then other people picked up on it as just like, "Hey, BBM's dead. You have no other alternative," right? So
right.
It was a little bit of an unfortunate how the messaging rolled out, but BBM, consumer BBM is technically going away, but BBM itself is not going away. If you still wish to continue using BBM, you just have to sign up for BBM Enterprise. So
yeah, for me personally, didn't affect me. I'd say it's probably like 6 or 9 months ago, I quit using BBM. Like I've always, when you look at my phone, I'll just pick up my red key 2 again, that Blaze doesn't have. My home screen tends to be like all the messenger things I use. I don't know if that's going to show up nicely on my camera for those watching video, but WhatsApp, Skype, Slack, Messenger, Hangouts. I have Facebook, Twitter, I have Telegram and stuff in there too. But BBM, I quit installing. I was down to like just a few contacts, and I already had so many alternatives on the phone that at some point I was like, wow, and I think everybody I was talking to was also on an alternative platform. It just, to me, the active daily monthly users of BBM was no longer high enough for me to justify, one, giving it home screen space like that. And at some point I'm like, well, I got to switch. So I'm sure, if I'm in that boat, being CBK a little bit, I'm sure many, many more have switched off and that a long time ago.
yeah,
I think
totally.
where I talked to some people who were super disappointed, it's more when they had you can almost say they were consumers using it more like an enterprise tool. Like they had, 10 people who worked together who all were on BBM, all using BlackBerries, right? And then they're like, oh shit, we really lost our messenger, because that's how they were using it. The way we might use an inter-office tool like Slack these days, they were using it, BBM as their real-time comms tool. So I could see that, but at least there will be that alternative, which is good. Or there's lots of options. So
yeah, there's hundreds of options out there, but at least from my perspective, aside from everything what you said in regards to the monthly active users and the frequency in which I was using actually using BBM, I only had 2 or 3 contacts that were on there. But from my perspective, when I look at it, I see it as basically them taking BBM back to what it was really intended to be anyways at the core. Like, it wasn't meant to have all that extra cruft. That's the only thing that I can call it, is cruft inside of it. It wasn't meant to have all those stickers and the Discover tab and BBM channels. It just became too much. It just felt like they were just throwing everything that they possibly could at BBM. And at that point, the app becomes bloated. It becomes annoying. You start getting ads and so on and so forth.
Not a fan of ads. Speaking on that, one of the other changes I made in my, I guess, messaging behavior on I think, but like I did it the same way for key 1 and key 2. And it's funny, right? I was using if you have Facebook Messenger installed on Android, it gives you that option to make it be your default SMS app, and then also Facebook Messenger. And for probably a year and a half, I was doing that, or at least a year. And I was like, oh, it's kind of convenient because I don't get that many messages, like text messages, but some contacts, it's just easy to hit them on Facebook Messenger for some reason. And I don't ever use Facebook. Like, I have an account, I log in occasionally, but I'm not an active user of Facebook itself. But I kind of like that I could combine a couple IM things together. But then Facebook Messenger started throwing in so many advertisements and things at you, and I'm like, and then they started putting in like Facebook Live, blah blah, almost like Instagram stories, and then you accidentally tap things, and you're like, oh my god, what is this? It lost what it was. Just be a really good messenger, and it evolved into this garbage. And then I'm like, okay, back to having just SMS messages and its own thing. And I'm like, oh, anxiety gone. This is just such a clean interface and no crap in front of me.
Well, that's essentially what they did with BBM as well. Like, now they took BBM, like I said, back to its core. You still get all the same great features that you liked, but it's stripped down to the point where it's a direct, good communication tool once again. But I mean, the argument is like, is it, did you wait too long to do that? And how many people are going to actually transition over? So I don't know.
I've got so many questions, right? Like, if you look back at the early releases when MTech did the licensing, it was all about content, right? MTech has like 20% share of like the TV in Indonesia. So they were like, okay, cool, let's attach the messenger to it. But they spent like $200 million for 6 years back in like 2016. So I don't understand the numbers there, because 6 years hasn't passed. They spent a lot of money. Like, why deprecate it at this point? Like, there's so many questions. Blaze, reach out, ask a question, see what MTech says, because it'd be interesting. I didn't realize
they paid that much for it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And they're actually going to continue paying it. Like, BlackBerry's not going to lose out on it. MTech's going to follow through on their end.
They must. I mean, maybe they're just like, it's a sunk cost at that point. But if it doesn't have the usage and revenue rates, they're like, it's cheaper to kill it and just pay the tax to John Chen and team than to actually try to run it if nobody's using it enough.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, again, not surprised. It's a little bit sad. Definitely an end of an era.
Yeah.
Mad props. Another shout out to good old Gary Clausen, the inventor of BBM. But it does live on in BBME, so it's not all bad. Other news. How's BlackBerry Limited doing otherwise? They had Q4 earnings yet? Or like
they had their 2019 Q4 earnings, which turned out fairly good. I mean, the biggest highlight there, the takeaway from it is BlackBerry is technically now $1 billion software company.
So you know what's crazy to me? Okay, this is a very recent thing. So I often get, I like to sometimes like, how do I put it? You know, I browse the internet. I get targeted with ads, right? Or Instagram, etc. And sometimes I buy things just because I'm curious to see what happens after you buy it. So I signed up the other day, like literally last weekend, for Motley Fool Canada. So Motley Fool is like a publisher, but similar to what we do, except we cover tech and things like that, gaming, etc. They cover stocks. And I was like on a website and they literally had like 19 ads in my face over and over again. And I'm like, wow, they must really want to sell me something. What is this about? They are aggressively stalking me at this time. And so I signed up, and I've never done it before. I paid, it's like $100 a year, or it might have been $200 for the year subscription. But I'm like, okay, I'm going to get smarter financially. And the way they hooked me in, they're like, this is the once in a lifetime chance to get the next Amazon. This company you don't know about or are not thinking about is poised to dominate and be the next $1 trillion company. Da 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 da. So I'm like, take my money. I want to sign up. I want to not miss out on the next Amazon. Like, what's going to become this huge thing? Guess what the company was?
BlackBerry.
BlackBerry. And I'm like, so the basic premise was, they just spent $1 billion or whatever it was buying Silence, this AI security startup of sorts I think they're out of Silicon Valley, right?
Out of Irvine, yep.
Yeah.
Out of Irvine. And the whole Motley Fool report was kind of poised around, we don't quite know what they're doing yet, but we do know that AI is huge and security is a thing. And BlackBerry's got a pedigree legacy in this space. And obviously they wouldn't have spent this dollar bills, y'all, unless there's a reason for it. And then I was just like, I was shocked, right? Because I literally got suckered into this marketing funnel online, being like, tell me. And then what's the company what's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow of this journey and that? And they baited me into becoming a paid member with BlackBerry. And I'm like, really?
You should have sold them that.
Well, yeah. I'm like, why didn't I do this? I'm like, it was too funny.
I've been covering BlackBerry for the past 12 years, and I didn't know.
Nobody told me that it's the next $1 trillion company now, and it's poised. Don't miss out on this 3,000% growth opportunity. Buy now. And I guess come December 2018, they started. They put out this recommendation on it that it's like the next massive thing. And I haven't looked at the stock, but I do know I think BlackBerry stock is up a bit right now.
Yeah, it's more up than it has been in probably the past 2 years. So
yeah, so keep in mind, everybody, we are not stock experts, and
don't rely on me
advice, and we are not trained professionals. But I found this fascinating, and I was like, maybe we need to bring Chris Umiastowski on the next episode out of retirement. And again, longtime listeners will know he used to be our go-to finance guy when BlackBerry stock was a hot topic every quarter, and maybe it's going to be again if it's the next $1 trillion company. What else did they say on the earnings report, or what can you tell me about Silence, please? I like asking you these things.
Well, I mean, basically, with the earnings report is that everything is their software revenue services continue to grow, and they keep beating analyst expectations. I mean,
it really is a software story now. Like when it comes to BlackBerry Limited, that transition is complete, right? We're, obviously on CrackBerry, we hear the word BlackBerry and we think phones first still. But if you're the CEO of BlackBerry Limited, you're not thinking that when you get up in the morning.
You're definitely not. Like that's no longer the landscape anymore for BlackBerry, and it's been. I mean, when you put it that way, it's been a really hard matter to press on to people because people still think they still see BlackBerry phones like CrackBerry readers and stuff like that. They still see BlackBerry phones coming out and so on and so forth, but realistically, John Chen, when it comes to phones, John Chen's interest is like right down here, out of view. No.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, when I opened the press release now for the earnings report, and you can't knock the guy. I think. I mean, I don't follow it that closely, that story, obviously, because I didn't know they were poised to be the next Amazon stock story. But they are making money, right? And they've kind of gone through their transition in Valley, so it'll be really interesting. I mean, obviously, spending that much money on a company is a huge investment. So I'm guessing his next few quarters are really going to be focused on turning that investment into the next huge thing.
Yeah, and I mean, since they picked up Cylance, they've been winning accolades and awards constantly for Cylance. So,
how do you say silent? Like, is it like silence, like a play on words, or silence, like a lance? I don't know.
I've always heard it pronounced Cylance, like a lance.
Because I feel like silence would have been cool, just spelled funny.
Yeah.
Maybe it's both.
Yeah,
Okay.
kind of like how British people pronounce things different.
So they have leadership in artificial intelligence and cybersecurity, and it will immediately complement BlackBerry's entire portfolio of UEM and QNX in particular.
And if you look at the earnings, they're still they still have cash reserves. They still have $1 billion in the bank. They cut their, they had maybe 2.4, right? They cut it in half, but they still have cash, they're sitting on. And very low debt.
As a company, they have time to invest in Silence and the whole story to, grow.
Yeah, or make another acquisition.
So I haven't followed, I used to follow this stuff and it caused me lots of stress. So then at some point you just have to not think about it because it's too stressful to think about it. But like long-term shareholders or longer-term people, has the last couple of years kind of come back up now so they feel better? I guess it depends when you owned it. But like if you've owned BlackBerry when John Chen came in, which is how many years now? I mean, 6 years, 5 years?
Yeah.
Kind of post BB10, 2013.
Yeah, 2013.
So I'm just going to open the stock chart. It's kind of interesting. I find it very interesting. I want to see. Is like John Chen being revered as turnaround master, or still a work in progress with the whole thing? Or...
I think there's a certain segment that has a very high belief in John Chen in actually turning things around for the better. Like, not to say that he hasn't done so already, but I mean, in the eyes of those people,
like as a business guy running, a publicly traded company, doing well for shareholders, he's doing the tough decisions that are righting the ship.
I think there's a lot of sentiment out there that he's probably doing the right thing. But then, I mean, the BlackBerry stock has always been so weird because there's always the short sellers that are out there that no matter what BlackBerry does, it's wrong. You know what I mean? Like, it's all wrong to those people.
Of course. Yeah. It's honestly, like, when I look at this in Kevin's brain, right, I'm like, why don't you just rebrand BlackBerry to be Silence or something, especially when you pay $1.4 billion for it, and then take BlackBerry and just put it back to the phones and, run that how it's being, been run via TCL, etc. Like, just the brand is so phone focused. It reminds me of a Jeff Bezos quote I read in a book years ago, which was that brands are like quick drying concrete. The brand forms very quickly, the expectation around it and what it is, and then it's kind of impossible to move it once that's formed.
Yeah.
So like once you're a BlackBerry, a phone company, if you're trying to make the world forget about the phone and move on to being a software company, it'd almost be just easier to build a new software brand. That's your AI security, blah, blah, blah thing. I don't know if the brand recognition of BlackBerry as a phone company necessarily makes the software thing that much stronger. Obviously, BlackBerry is a strong security story historically, but I don't know if that is what the average person even thinks, though. They still think, well, it's a phone.
Yeah.
So
it's a huge problem. And I agree. Maybe that they should at least consider possibly rebranding it and putting it into a different spectrum. But I mean, at the same time, it's like, is it really actually going to help them, or would it actually be a little bit of a more problematic situation at that point?
Yeah.
I think in regards to the Bezos quote, I think there's a quote from John Chen saying, if your kid's doing bad in school, you don't change the name of your kid, right?
That's pretty funny. I like it. No, I mean, look, I haven't talked to John Chen in a long time, but I would love to do a catch up with him. Maybe we can interview him or something. Maybe we should do the reach out, Blaze. Would you be willing to do in honor of your 35th anniversary, which just happened, for BlackBerry Limited? Maybe we can get a sit down with John Chen and talk about this future BlackBerry.
I mean,
or he might say, "Guys, you care about phones too much. I'm not interested." I don't know.
Yeah, possibly. I mean,
but we should try to tell this other story, because I don't feel like it's. I mean, I don't understand it clearly enough yet, but obviously it's working-ish, and
that's the thing, though. That's the thing, though, because, I mean, you said it yourself when you read through the Motley Fool article, that even Motley Fool doesn't fully understand, like, what Silence is all about, right? So
yeah, I didn't feel like, after paying my subscription fee and reading this article that taught me that BlackBerry is where I should put all my money now if I want to, get a 3,000% return over the next several years. It was like, I was like, it was a little soft on convincing me of that story,
and that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem, is that all this information keeps coming out, and granted, it's largely all good information, like government contracts and the acquisition of Silence, and all this stuff, working with NATO, all this stuff is great. It makes great headlines, and apparently it's working because the company is now $1 billion software company.
Right.
But when you really start digging into it, it's like there's a point where you get in understanding it that there's a little bit of a gap where it's like, okay, I understand all of this, but how is this making money after this point, right? Like, yeah, that's where the story sort of trickles off, and you technically can't follow the money, or at least I can't. And
I mean, like, the money talks more than the story has to, but it's nice if they're both crystal clear, right?
Right.
Like,
and
I
that's
understand.
the thing.
I understand Apple. I understand. I mean, Amazon is actually confusing because they're like 50 companies, but I understand, 5 of Amazon's businesses, and probably don't even know the other 45 exist. I understand Google, kind of, I mainly understand Google, where the money comes from anyways, and all that. And then, BlackBerry today, I used to understand BlackBerry when they sold phones, but that was the business. But now it's definitely like harder to understand how and where it all comes from, who's paying them that $1 billion a year.
Honestly, it's an ongoing BlackBerry problem. The problem that we're speaking of now has existed for years, and it's in terms of their messaging and getting the full message out.
I'm tempted. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, drop me a tweet or a comment on the CrackBerry article where it's embedded, etc. And are you going to buy stock knowing that the Motley Fool said it's the next Amazon and we shouldn't miss out? Because I'm getting tempted, but I don't know. I don't understand why yet. It would be like a lottery ticket. But maybe we can do an interview with John Chen and at some point soon and hear it from him, because it'd be great to understand. Because I would. Nothing I'd rather see than BlackBerry kicking butt. But I'd like to be able to accurately tell the story, and I'm still like,
yeah. I mean, the doors are open there. I mean, all the worst you can say is no.
We should try it. I think it'd be fun. Okay, that's a lot of BlackBerry Limited talk. Probably more than we've done all year. Oh,
got him.
I will. Oh, I do want to apologize if you were watching this podcast live on the video. I think for the first 20 minutes, people only saw your head, James Nevis, because you were accidentally clicked in the little live streaming thing. So all my hat wardrobe changes were unseen.
Or this big.
They were tiny, but maybe at the end of the show, I will do them again for effect. Let's talk more about the Key 2. Is it an award-winning Key 2?
It is.
Yes.
Design awards. Yeah.
Design awards, yeah.
Which design awards did it win, other than the CrackBerry Design Award?
the IF Design Awards, which basically out of 6,375 entries from 52 countries, a 67-member jury chose the BlackBerry Key 2 as actually BlackBerry Key 2 and Key 2 LE to win design awards. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is, because there's also kind of a history there in terms of the devices, BlackBerry devices being awarded. I think
Priv was also
yeah. I think the Priv got the red dot, but the BlackBerry Passport won the IF Design Award, the Z10, and the Z3 previously. So
Sweet. That is cool. And then I know we posted some questions. Or wait, is there anything we want? I know we have like community questions and things we should answer before we wind down our show today. What else? Oh, BlackBerry Hub.
Yeah, the BlackBerry Hub got a total redesign, as I'm sure everybody listening already knows. That, to a certain point, was one of the controversial things, I guess you could say, that came up. Because of the way that the BlackBerry Hub works and the way that Google sort of enforces their policies and rules upon people, the BlackBerry Hub got a total redesign for the better, to make it easier for like one-handed use. And there was a rearranging of the buttons and all of that. All the new icons got updated. So overall,
what happened, James? Can I ask you this? Sorry to cut you off, Blaze.
No worries.
Home screen icons, they kind of like shifted shapes and back on the Key 2, right?
Yeah, there's definitely some changes happening there on the software side. I think they're trying to address some of the changes that people want with that unified interface and offering that customization. But as the changes come out, they get the feedback, they switch it back. So
they're listening to us when we revolt against the change. That's cool.
Yeah, and I think you see that with the Hub update too as well. On the BlackBerry Limited side, people had a lot of feedback within the beta, and now we're starting to see some new features and things come out. Blaze just did a great article about how now they're adding, you can basically put any app and notification into the Hub currently in beta, which is great. So soon, assuming that feature fully rolls out, you'll be able to add things like CrackBerry into your Hub and get notifications there. And
Sweet.
there's still a little bit of a duplication between system and Hub, but you can go into your settings and tweak some of those things. So I think they're definitely listening and making that Key 2 experience as good as they can.
Yeah, cool. Any other new news that we should talk about, or should we move on to some community Q&A and see what the BlackBerry fans of the world want us to talk about?
I think we covered
what they want. Yeah. Give the people what they want. Let's see what questions they got.
Okay, I feel like the first question has to be, I'm not even going to look at the questions. It'll just be like, tell us about the Key 3, because that's what I would be asking. Or when is there going to be a Key 3? Or the question I actually get emailed and tweeted at me the most often is, Kevin, I'm thinking about buying a Key 2. I had a Key 1, or I skipped, I was still on an older phone. Should I buy the Key 2 now or wait for a Key 3? The answer I've been giving, and I'll just give it here, is I would buy your Key 2, because I think we said this on the year-end super duper podcast special. I don't think it's a 12-month upgrade cycle, right? I think Key 2, especially more than Key 1, it wears well, and there's no other keyboard phone competition on the market, so there's no necessity to be like bang 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 with new phones like that. I think Key 1 was kind of the first TCL built, fully launched key device. I think even that we said was kind of our design that came a little bit from BlackBerry Limited that TCL built. The Key 2, when they built it really well. And this one I'm using here, this is still like, I'm using the red one a little bit, but my primary SIM is still in my my first Key 2 that I got in New York at the launch event. I don't want to switch from it because I crazy glued my Louis Vuitton phone ring on the back, so I'm really maximizing it. I have beat the hell out of this phone, and it shows the beatings. Like, I did get a little bit of a crack on one part of the screen towards the top when I dropped it really high, and you can see at the bottom, there's some wear and tear on the corners of the keyboard. Like, it is a properly beat up, used and abused phone, and still works great. It hasn't really shown any like hiccups or slowdowns. I'd say the one thing I've had is maybe the fingerprint unlock sensor, like it doesn't feel as guaranteed accurate as possible as it used to be. So I haven't, but it still works, right? So I haven't like stopped to think, okay, is it a wearing out part? Is it a software thing? Maybe I just need to actually clean it, which I could do right now with a little bit of cleaning cloth. Probably problem solved in 10 seconds. I mean, what's been the feedback for you, Blaze and James, just in terms of, key 2 durability and holding, staying power?
I haven't had any issues with mine. I mean, I'm still using my launch device as well.
Yeah.
Much the same as yours. It's a little roughed up around some of the edges, but it still works perfectly fine. And I haven't had any slowdowns or anything to make me want a newer device. It works perfectly fine for my needs. So
yeah, I echo a lot of those sentiments. I think if you look at, with the red edition launching as the bronze did the year prior, there's no rush for something new. I think this device has a lot of legs still. Looking at the software, 6 gigs of RAM is still a lot, even in 2019. I think we're going to, next year start looking at that being maybe a lower number. But I think when you looked at like the 4 gigabytes of RAM that we had on Key 1 Black Edition and the Motion, that was a good amount. But after a year or two, I felt like that was, you still got back to those hiccups that we had with the initial Key 1. So with 6 gigs of RAM and the increased storage and some of the other things that the device has, you really have a device that's going to kick butt for a long time for the price. And in the market in general, I think we're moving away from that. Manufacturers are going to update yearly, but if you look at, like, for example, Apple sales, they're not selling as many phones because the phones are good and they're updating them. So I think the market in general is moving away from this kind of yearly cycle. They're going to continue to do the phones here and there as it makes sense, but I think we are moving away from like having to shill out a ton of money every single year for a new product. It's really, I think these phones are all getting good, and it's been said by YouTubers and others that good phones are getting cheap and cheap phones are getting good. So I think that is a really strong sentiment that, if you're at that point right now on an older BlackBerry device and you've been like, I'm going to wait, I wouldn't. I'd jump right on a Key 2.
Yeah. I don't think that's even a question. It's like I wouldn't wait for Key 3. I would go Key 2. I think they're going to keep pushing it for a while.
And I mean, as the phones get better too, I mean, carriers have let it be known that consumer upgrades aren't as high either. So people are hanging onto their devices longer. And the other thing with that is that BlackBerry users have always hung onto their devices longer than any other manufacturers as well. So, I mean, if everything is working for you, then why go through that whole process to cause an upgrade cycle if it's not necessarily needed, right?
Yeah. I think, here, this is my one thought I had though. So like, let's say you stretch. So when you're doing an annual device release, it makes total sense to be like, Galaxy S5, 6, 7. Oh, let's not talk about Note 7, sorry. 8, 9, 10, iPhone 5, 6, 7, 8, If you do a 2-year, like more of a 2-year device cycle, I don't know if I would call a Key 3, or I would be like, well, the people who own the Key 2, obviously they're going to think of it as a Key 3, but in your marketing, it's like a long enough gap. You could be like, the all new BlackBerry, the end. Who needs like everything else on it? Just be like, boom, new BlackBerry back on market. It's here. Because either you know it and you're going to be like, oh, I'm getting that one. It's the new BlackBerry. Or you don't know it and you're just going to be like, damn, there's a new BlackBerry. You're not going to be thinking like number 3, because you may not have been in the loop on number 2, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's like an opportunity when you stretch things out a bit to like treat another phone as like, boom, big opportunity. But I might pick up a couple extra Key 2s in the meantime, just so I can switch to like a new silver one and glue this one onto it. And then now I want to find more red Key 2s. I want to buy them all up so Blaze can't get one.
Sure.
It'd be like, I want that one. I want that one. I'm going to sleep on a bed of red Key 2s. It's going to be good. Now, another thing from the community. So this isn't a question, but Michael Fisher, a.k.a. the Mr. Mobile on Twitter, says, this is not a question, but a pro tip for the CrackBerry team. My Key 2 spacebar started missing every other press. So I smacked it hard a few times, like I was pounding out an all caps shouty email, and now it works like a charm. Not bad.
Gotta love those do-it-yourself fixes.
You know what's interesting is my Red Key 3 actually had a slightly stiff G key. The letter G, like when I was typing, if I hit more on the left side of the button, it wasn't registering the press. If I came in like a little bit harder, or like on the right side or middle, it would do it. And I kind of did that. I just kind of mashed it really hard, and then it fixed itself. So sometimes mashing things is the key. Brother Neil says, do you think BlackBerry will listen to the community regarding the BBME subscription? The fee really should be waived for BlackBerry branded Android devices. Be nice, but yeah. I don't know.
No such thing as a free lunch, Brother Neil. Someone's paying for it somewhere, and I imagine it'll be the users.
I would imagine.
Well, I will say, as BlackBerry users, we are used to it going back, many years. So, Red Rico for you says, "How good is the Key 2 Red Edition?" I would say it is very good. I like it a lot. I especially like that it somehow matches. Literally the timing of getting it and it lined up also with, our new owner's future, which I find very exciting, because now it's like, to me, it's the official phone of future that everybody should use. So cool. How do you find the Red Key 2, the Red Key 2 Blaze? Oh wait, you don't have one. It never will.
What a jerk.
This is the new Blaze is a fang banger. This is gonna be like got Red Key 2 t-shirt. That's what I'll be wearing next time. And it's gonna say, I do, Blaze don't.
Yeah, to Rico's question, I think the 128 of storage is a huge benefit because the device is dual SIM. So the challenge on like some of the older dual SIM devices was you had to give up that extra slot to get an SD card in, and then you only had your one SIM card. So what's nice is you can actually genuinely rock this as a dual SIM phone because it has that extra storage, right? So I think, again, probably the best version of the Key 2 that is out there presently.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get, for all my trips to the States, I often do roaming. But now with the Red Key 2, I'm going to buy a proper like US-based SIM card, run that for my data, and then still have, my primary in just in case I need to get like text messages from people.
I'm kind of confused as to why you haven't done that like years ago.
Well,
I did that 10 years ago. I set up a T-Mobile account 10 years ago.
Because Rogers with Roam Like Home now isn't that bad if I'm going on a short trip, right? If I'm going for like 2 or 3 days and they charge me, I think it used to be $5. I think now it's $7 a day roaming, but it uses the data out of my Canadian plan, which is, I forget, 12 gigs a month or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just really convenient, and I'm like, fine, it's easy. But if I go for a longer trip, like I'm there for 2 weeks or something, it piles up. And although I wonder if I'd still have to pay it, because I'd still want some data for. You don't need data for text messages, right? You just need it for data.
Right.
Yeah. So then it would work, right? I could still get a text if I absolutely have to on my primary, but then I would use. Nobody phones me anymore. I mean, on real calls, I don't answer them if people do anyways. So I think it'd work.
I guess that makes sense because I don't have Roam Like Home. Even though I'm with Rogers, my plan is so old and grandfathered that it doesn't have it, and I would have to upgrade the plan. And I'm not upgrading the plan because the plan costs twice as much.
Right. Yeah. So, the plans are crazy. You think mobile should get cheaper? Yeah, you think mobile stuff should get cheaper over time, but it's like, no, it's like, carriers know how to make the dollars.
Yeah, for sure. They keep sending me like emails saying, hey, you can upgrade to this. And I'm like, no, thanks.
More comments from the community. John Maslon at Maslon says, what is the status of Android updates for various BlackBerry devices? So, I mean, BlackBerry 10 is not getting updated. That covers a bunch of them. BlackBerry OS devices are not getting updated. That covers a bunch of them. BlackBerry Android devices, well, I think the priv doesn't matter anymore. Key 1, Key 2. Key 1 did Key 1 ever get an update to something?
It did Nougat to...
Yeah.
It went Lollipop
Oreo.
to Nougat.
Yeah, it went
Nougat to Oreo.
Mm-hmm.
Key 2 is still on, and LE are on
Oreo still today.
And what's the next one that maybe would come, or maybe not?
That would be Android Pie, Android 9 Pie.
OP, right? What's it even offer? Like, I don't know. Just a very dumb question. But as a user of the phone, I don't know what I would expect out of an update. Because I don't like learning new things. So if I'm good with the device as is, what will I really get as a benefit of?
It's really tough to say, right? I think it's one of those like OS updates that's pretty minor. It has some UI overhauls, but I think on this form factor, you wouldn't really benefit. You wouldn't get a ton of benefit from them, right?
Yeah.
This has keyboard shortcuts and things like you really wouldn't even.
It's funny. A younger me would be like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna stay up all night to update to the latest blah 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 blah." I think even on my Key 2 here, that it's like saying, yeah, it's like download update, and I'm like, yeah, system update available 7 hours ago. I'm like, I'll do it on the weekend. I'm like, I don't know if that means I'm getting old or something, but it's good enough. But yeah, I guess I don't know the answer on that. James might, but probably can't share because he's mean and we hate him. Let's move on to the next question because maybe we can answer that one.
So I'm looking here at some of the community ones. Daniel Bader, Journey Dan on Instagram, he asked, "What's your favorite dog breed?"
Well, so my favorite TV show is the one about picking a puppy. It's amazing. It's almost like how the house, how Love It or Listed TV, the real estate TV shows where people go shopping for a house and they check out 3 houses and that kind of thing. Well, now there's this one, Pick a Puppy. I think the host of the show was from one of the old Bachelorette TV shows or something like that. But literally they start with a family. The family wants to get a dog. And then they have 3 different breeds of dogs they visit in the episode, and then they pick a dog at the end. So I keep watching them, and me and my wife love to watch. Like, we are addicted to the show, and they're so cute, and it makes me so happy. But I don't know what my favorite is, and we keep going back and forth because, right now we live in a condo for the last decade. We've been thinking about buying a house. There's actually one on the market where I'm like, oh, maybe it's time to shift. And the reason is not so much that we don't like our condo. It's that all of our cars are parked outside and they're all breaking. They cannot survive the Manitoba winters and they're screaming at us. It's like this year we have 3 cars. Like I have my Tesla. My wife has an SUV. She has an older Volkswagen convertible she's had. And as of 3 weeks ago, all 3 were broken and undrivable. So we had 2 rental cars on top of that. So as 2 people, we owned 5 cars, which seemed incredibly wasteful. But I think the reason is we need a garage. So if we get a house with a yard, then it's like we can actually get a dog now. So we're kind of thinking about having a dog. Erica likes the thought of a Dalmatian, but we keep hearing they have maybe attitude. But a Dalmatian is pretty awesome. I do like what are they called? Not the snickerdoodles. Poodle.
Snickerdoodle.
The poodle somethings. Doodle, poodle, pooper doodle, doodle. There was a really cute one.
Kevin walking down the road with a snickerdoodle on you.
What is a snicker? Is a snickerdoodle a thing? Is that
It's a cookie.
Oh, it's a cookie. Yeah, well, Daniel, the answer is I love snickerdoodles, and whoever brings me a snickerdoodle right now is the puppy. Oh yeah, Amazing. It is a cookie. Oh, they look delicious.
They are pretty good.
Just for the record, I like Chihuahuas. Mine's easy.
See how quick I'm stretching this thing out.
I'm a boxer guy. Boxers.
I don't know the breed names, but I can tell you when they're cute.
That one.
I'm gonna answer that better for our next podcast. Maybe by the time we record our next episode, I'll have a dog and I'll bring him or her on the show.
My mother just recently got a puppy, and she got a Nova Scotia duck toller, and she is cute as hell. She always looks a little sad, though, but she's not. She's a very happy puppy, but she just looks sad. She has one of those faces where it's just like...
Okay, I am now looking at the list of all dog breeds. Oh, the Airedale Terrier. That's a cool dog. Oh, my God. Aww. I would like a medium-sized dog that doesn't have too much poop. Because I think that's maybe one of the questions. Oh, wow. There's so many breeds here I didn't even know they existed. The Briard, the Bull Terrier. Wow. Oh, I don't know. I'll come up with a better answer. But
another question here that I'm seeing from Chad Mid with 2 Ds, Chad MIDD, says, "Hey bro, long time. What are you working on these days?"
Working on. Oh, Chad Middleton. That's who you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know Chad Middleton?
It was an Instagram response.
But you don't know him. Like me and Blaze know Chad.
Yeah.
Chad's awesome.
Yeah.
No, you're like new school still, James. Yeah, Chad's old school. Chad's awesome. Well, Chad, like I said, I spent the last decade of my life building Mobile Nations, which prior to that, Mobile Nations started 2011. CrackBerry started before that, and we planted the Mobile Nations flag in 2010 or 2011. And my main day to day has really been being the chief operating officer of that and helping build it, and working so many things in that crazy digital media publishing industry that we're in. CrackBerry has always been my passion and kind of side hustle, I guess you could say, because I have a lot of other things. But yeah, we got acquired, or however you want to phrase it. So now we go from being a company of, having probably 64 full-time people, 30 freelancers, a few vendors we work with a lot, to being a publicly traded company of over 1,000 people, and focused on crushing it with our new future team. So lots, the next year or so, everything is very status quo, but over time, I think it's going to be exciting for everybody I've worked with over the years, with just lots of opportunities and being part of something bigger. And if you don't know Future, super cool story. Started in 1984 by a guy named Ted Anderson, who, is that the name? I think that's the name. Anyways, started by the guy who started TED Talks. Maybe, I feel like I got his first name there. TED Talk founder. I'm gonna screw that up. Chris Anderson. Sorry. Started by Chris Anderson, who's also the guy who has made TED into the giant thing TED became in the world. They started a lot in print publishing, and they still have a lot of print magazine brands today, especially in the UK. But then obviously, most print publishers, they embrace digital. So Future has been ramping up there a lot, and they have a really awesome CEO. Her name's Zilla Bingthorne, Scottish woman, super smart, just really impressive to talk to and work with. And they've been growing a lot. So it was interesting is, Future owns brands like they have Tech Radar for example, is one in our tech space that you'd see a lot, especially when you're Googling things. But they also acquired Perch, who owns different sites like Tom's Guide, Tom's Hardware, Anon Tech, Laptop Mag. And then now in acquiring Mobile Nations, where we have Android Central, iMore, Windows Central, CrackBerry, we own Techno Buffalo, we have brands like Mr. Mobile in the mix. So when you put it together, Future now dominates in tech and in other verticals like gaming also, where they have brands like PC Gamer in their wheelhouse. So super cool to see our story evolve into becoming something much bigger. And where we're completely in alignment in terms of how we think as companies, and our strategy of building specialist brands around passionate, consumers and topics that, like CrackBerry's always embodied since the beginning, where, we started that 12 years ago. So for me, hustling the same game, I think is what I'd say, but at a much bigger, better level. And we've steadily built it over the years, and still love doing it. So no changes in sight. Although now I want to just become an investor in BlackBerry because
the Motley Fool.
Because the Motley Fool. So I'm just going to put every penny I can into that, and then just kick back. And when that hits its 3,000% gain,
it's at $9. I mean, why not? It's only going to go up,
you
right?
Can buy a lot. You can buy a lot. Yeah.
It was at $522.
What's 9 times 3,000? Because that's huge.
It could be something. Another question here from Rich Ransom.
What about 21. Blaze and James, though? You guys are just hustling. I want to answer all Chad's questions.
Oh. Yeah, staying busy in the hustle grinds.
Yes.
There's tons of hats under this one. You just can't see them right now.
I need to switch hats. I'm gonna go back to. Yeah. Well, as you keep talking, I'm just gonna put on all the hats I could be wearing right now.
Yeah, staying busy, doing some travel where I can. You know, my girlfriend lives in Philadelphia, which is unfortunate because I live in Miami. But so doing that, trying the long distance thing on the weekends when I can steal away to visit her, or she'll visit me. But yeah, just staying, keeping my eye on the prize on all the work things. They keep all the things rolling. What about you, Blaze?
Well, I mean, everybody gets to see what I do up front on CrackBerry, but it's there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that people don't actually see in terms of the communities that we have, like Android Central, iMore, Windows Central, all of that. All of those sites have individual forums, so I do a lot of behind the scenes work there with the volunteers and basically the tech team to make sure that everything keeps running cohesively and not breaking down and so on and so forth. But
Sweet.
And I mean, like you, I travel a bit too. I just got back from Arizona for a 2 month stay from there. So
nice. Cool. I like it. It's such a real, authentic episode. Everybody's talking about themselves. I feel like it's this therapy or something too, or it's just been way too long, and we're like, I actually am curious. What are you up to, Blaze? Tell me.
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both, I think. Yeah. What else? Anything else? I'm gonna go through the Twitter list here, but we can save some questions for next time too.
One of the good questions here from Rich Ransom 21 was interested in moving to BlackBerry. Are you able to listen to podcasts on them?
Yeah, of course.
Runs Android.
What was your go-to app there, Blaze, for someone who's maybe picking one up? Because is there one pre-installed on the phone, etc.?
For podcasts?
Yeah.
I personally use Pocket Casts, but I mean, there's hundreds of podcast apps that are out there. I find Pocket Cast is one of the better ones because there's a lot of integration with all the podcast networks and stuff like that. And plus, you can basically just add your own podcast if it's for whatever reason it's not showing up. But if you just need something like basic, there's Google Podcasts as well. I don't know if they started preloading that as it's available.
I think it's just in Play Music now. Like it's all it's one thing.
I mean, that's the other thing too, is that Google Play Music offers podcasts, and all that stuff is pretty easily accessible, especially on a BlackBerry nowadays. You don't run into those old problems of not finding a good podcast app because all the apps are based on Android. So
yeah. I'm if Daniel Bader's listening, I'm gonna ping him because I just looked up Android Central's best podcast apps for Android post, but it hasn't been updated since February 23rd, 2017. We need a 2019 version of that. Or Blaze, you could write that for CrackBerry because I'd be curious to read it.
Yeah.
Sweet. I think that's most of the questions. I had some repetitive ones just on Key 3 questions, a couple on the updates, which we spoke to. I think we just passed the hour mark, so maybe it's time to wind this guy down. And
yeah.
Brother Neil had a really good question here. CrackBerry Cruise still a go this year?
Oh my god. CrackBerry Cruise.
I forgot that it was a thing.
Yeah, I think
like
maybe
6 months ago.
Damn. I think it should be 2020. Make it a cool sounding year.
Yeah.
2020, the vision, the future is bright. The future vision is clear. CrackBerry 2020. Yeah. TBD, but I think next year. This year's already like flying by. It's crazy.
Are we leaving out of the port of Miami?
And yeah, unless we want to do like a Alaskan cruise.
Mediterranean, let's do it.
Yeah, Mediterranean would be sweet.
We'll leave out of Barcelona after Mobile World Congress. It'd be great.
If it's warm, that'd be nice.
Yeah, it won't be warm.
It won't be warm enough. Let's do some research. Let's do some research on it. Yeah. But I would love a CrackBerry cruise. That'd be amazing.
Do we want to address those BlackBerry Evolve questions, James? Since it's a pretty easy one.
Yeah. What's the question?
Well, where is it? truth
I
be
never
told,
got one.
We don't know where it is. I don't think the people behind it even know where it is at this point because it's not appearing.
We got to get the wireless charger though, Blaze. I know none of these phones have wireless charging, but we should get them because it's.
That's the thing. So they
cool.
announced the BlackBerry Evolve, and they announced the BlackBerry Evolve X, and they announced the wireless charger. The BlackBerry Evolve came to market. The BlackBerry wireless charger came to market. But the BlackBerry Evolve X is missing in action. No one knows where it is. And the company behind it, which is not TCL, is not saying anything about it. They're just ignoring it. So nobody knows where it is. We can't get a straight answer for it. So.
And for anyone who doesn't know what the Evolve X is it's basically like a very close to a Key 2 in spec, but like an all-touch form factor.
Yeah.
So like Snapdragon 660, just with an all-touch and all the Evolve things. Another question here was, can you guys push a BlackBerry to bring their keyboard to other Android devices? I assume the virtual one.
Yeah, probably.
Can't you install the virtual one?
You can.
Not officially.
Yeah.
Oh. I don't know.
Cobalt. Blaze will do an article.
Yeah, I mean that realistically is the only alternative. We can push BlackBerry for it, but I don't think that they'll do it because I mean that's part of their package that they have that they want you to pay for. One of the few remaining phone things that they want you to pay for. So I don't see them making it available for other devices unless you pony up the cash for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, answer by a BlackBerry. And that's it. I think a lot of the other questions we've kind of covered off here. So,
yeah, I think people are probably sick of listening to us too by now, which is, or at least me.
I'm sick of listening.
Never get tired of Blaze. It's cool. Well, on that note, then that was fun. I'm glad we did that. Thanks, Dad, for
kicking our butts.
Yeah, kicking our butts. He was very upset. He's gonna hopefully listen to every word. Props to Rico also. For hooking us up with the Red Key 2s. But sorry, Blaze, you're never gonna have one ever. Let's move on. And James,
I'm gonna take that helmet.
No, I want that.
I'm gonna get James to ship it to me rather than you.
Can I wear both?
Okay, let's talk. Maybe we can work something out. And James, thanks for having us on the show. You're a fantastic permanent stand-in for Adam Zeiss, who has sailed into the sunset of podcasting.
He's a busy guy. No worries.
He's a busy guy, and he took himself off social media a long time ago. So I figured podcasting was next. And
yeah, it was inevitable.
He won't even hear us saying nice things about him, probably. But that's all right.
He put in front of my eyes the other day the Kevin Mitchell song that a fan did, and it's like the catchiest tune I've ever heard.
Kevin Mitchell.
Google that if you want, you guys.
So I met him at the Chicago CrackBerry meetup of 2017.
Amazing.
He came in. He drove like 2 hours to come into the city for it. And I think I bought him a dinner afterwards or drinks or something because I was like, it's the least I can do. But it was cool.
It's iconic.
Too funny. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. You can find James Nevis. Where can people follow you?
On Twitter and Instagram at JMZNVS.
Cool. Blaze, where can people find you?
Twitter and Instagram, BLA1ZE.
Nice. And you can find me at CrackBerry Kevin on the Twitters and the Instagrams. And of course, read crackberry.com to see everything Blaze tackles often, me every now and then. And at some point, I'm going to fire up some videos for the old YouTube channel because it needs some love. It needs some Red Key 2 love on its page.
For sure.
So I will get there as soon as I can, but I will make up for the delay with awesomeness.
Yep. And for all your other BlackBerry Mobile needs, announcements, news, and updates, follow at BlackBerry Mobile and on Twitter at BBMobile.
Nice. All right. Thanks for listening to everybody. Till next time. Kevin out.